We are repeatedly told the Oval Office is reserved for history's supreme intellects. This is a pure fabrication. The reality is a chaotic portfolio of men who have been taken out by swamp bunnies, gambled away national treasures, and triggered near-nuclear conflicts over a trash joke. We are dropping the velvet rope to expose the clumsy, baffling, and gloriously stupid truth of executive power. Get ready. Here are 15 times the American presidency was a spectacular, high-stakes train wreck. Number 1. William Howard Taft and the Bathtub Calamity. Let's begin with a heavyweight champion of physical humiliation. William Howard Taft, a man of significant girth, once attempted a relaxing bath in the White House. The problem? The tub was standard issue, and Taft was absolutely not. He became physically wedged inside the porcelain vessel, requiring his staff to coat the leader of the free world in butter and oils to slide him out like a cork. Post-humiliation, Taft instantly ordered a custom tub so colossal that 4 grown adults could comfortably float in it. He literally proved size matters, especially in the plumbing budget. Number 2. George H.W. Bush and the diplomatic incident. Diplomacy requires handshakes, treaties, and, ideally, a firm grip on your stomach contents. In 1992, during a state dinner in Japan, President Bush failed the last requirement spectacularly. A sudden, vicious bout of gastroenteritis hit him mid-meal. He passed out and famously vomited directly into the lap of the Japanese Prime Minister, Kiichi Miyazawa. The scene, caught on global camera, was a cultural and political nightmare. It was so specific that the Japanese language adopted a new slang term for public vomiting, bushuru, literally meaning doing a bush. You know you've messed up when your name becomes a permanent gross verb. Number 3. Andrew Jackson and the profanity-spewing parrot. Andrew Jackson was known as a gritty, tough figure who loved a good fight. Apparently, his pet African gray parrot, Paul, absorbed all of this energy. When Jackson died in 1845, a solemn funeral was held. However, the dignity was shredded when Paul began screaming a stream of profanity so vile, loud, and sustained that it shocked the mourners. The bird was unleashing a comprehensive, uncensored greatest hits collection of the president's worst swear words right in the church. Attendants had to physically remove the airborne foul-mouthed asset from the premises. Number 4. William Henry Harrison and the coat fail. This is a tragic case study in toxic masculinity backfiring. On his inauguration day in 1841, William Henry Harrison, desperate to project a tough guy image, decided to deliver his speech in the freezing rain without a coat or hat. He gave the longest inaugural address in history, nearly 2 hours. He thought it made him look strong. Biology disagreed. He caught a cold that quickly spiraled into fatal pneumonia, killing him just 30 days later. He holds the record for the shortest presidency, all because he was too stubborn to wear a jacket. Number 5. John Quincy Adams and the Mole People. John Quincy Adams, supposedly a serious intellectual, sanctioned one of the most baffling federal expenditures in history. He was a vocal supporter of the hollow Earth theory, the belief that the planet is hollow and inhabited by inner Earth civilizations, example, mole people. Adams actively approved a federal expedition to the Arctic Circle to find the entrance and, ideally, establish trade relations with the subterranean population. Thankfully, his successor, Andrew Jackson, immediately cut the funding for the Mole People hunting project. Number 6. Zachary Taylor and the Lethal Lunch. Zachary Taylor, or Old Rough and Ready, survived bullets, cannon fire, and brutal military campaigns, only to be canceled by his own 4th of July snap. In 1850, under the hot sun, he consumed a massive amount of raw cherries and washed them down with a generous amount of iced milk. This gastrointestinal cocktail triggered fatal cholera morbus, a severe gut infection. He died 5 days later. Imagine surviving wars only to be defeated by a bowl of fruit and dairy. The enemy is often your own lunch. Number 7. Ulysses S. Grant and the speeding arrest. Before street racers, there was Ulysses S. Grant on a horse. Grant had a serious addiction to speed, constantly racing his carriage through the streets of Washington, D.C. like a maniac. It got so bad that a terrified police officer actually pulled him over. The officer, realizing he had just stopped the sitting president, was shaking, but Grant, to his credit, admitted he was breaking the law. He was formally arrested and fined $20. He then had to walk the walk of shame back to the White House on foot. He remains the only president ever arrested while in office. Number 9. Bill Clinton and Hairgate. We've all had bad hair days, but Bill Clinton's resulted in mass aviation chaos. In 1993, Clinton was aboard Air Force One at LAX waiting for a $200 haircut from his stylist. The problem was that the aircraft remained on the tarmac with engines running, resulting in the security shutdown of two of the busiest runways at Los Angeles International Airport. Commercial flights circled for an hour, burning fuel and patience. All of that chaos and disruption just so the president could look fresh for the cameras. It remains the most expensive and disruptive trim in history. Number 8. Andrew Johnson and the drunken inauguration. Andrew Johnson opted to deal with his inauguration day nerves with 3 massive glasses of whiskey. By the time he walked into the Senate chamber to be sworn in as vice president in 1865, he was completely hammered. He delivered a rambling, slurred, incoherent speech, openly insulting cabinet members who were sitting right in front of him. Abraham Lincoln looked on in horror, burying his face in his hands. Johnson had to be pulled away from the podium. The resulting shame was so intense that he effectively went into hiding for weeks. Number 10. Ronald Reagan and the nuclear joke. Microphones are dangerous weapons in the hands of a joker. In a sound check in 1984, Ronald Reagan thought he was practicing his stand-up for technicians. He quipped, "My fellow Americans, I've signed legislation that will outlaw Russia forever. We begin bombing in 5 minutes." He thought it was hilarious. The tape leaked. While Americans got the joke, the Soviet Union did not find it funny. Their army was briefly placed on high alert, bringing the world terrifyingly close to nuclear conflict, all because the president wanted to test his stand-up material. Number 11. Gerald Ford and the tamale fail. Gerald Ford, known for his clumsiness, once committed a devastating culinary mistake in San Antonio, Texas. Offered a fresh tamale, Ford, a Michigan native, had apparently never encountered the staple food. Instead of unwrapping the corn husk like a normal human, he bit directly into the tough, inedible wrapper. He tried to chew it while cameras flashed and locals watched in stunned silence. It was a high-profile public act of gastronomic failure, symbolizing how profoundly out of touch he was with local culture. Number 12. Warren Harding and the Lost China. Warren G. Harding was obsessed with high-stakes poker, hosting weekly games at the White House, despite prohibition. He wasn't just gambling his own money, he was playing with government property. During one particularly intense hand, Harding wagered a priceless set of White House china dating back to Benjamin Harrison's era. He lost. Just like that, a piece of American history was packed up and shipped out because the president refused to fold his hand. Number 13. Richard Nixon and the talking portraits. The end of the Nixon presidency was a psychological horror show. As the Watergate noose tightened, White House staff reported that a heavily drinking and insomnia-ridden Nixon would wander the empty halls late at night. He would frequently stop to engage in full-blown arguments with the oil portraits of former presidents on the walls, reportedly yelling at Washington and Jefferson, seeking advice or justifying his crimes. It's a haunting image of a powerful man losing his grip on reality while the ghosts of history silently stared back. Number 14. Andrew Jackson and the 1,400-pound cheese. In 1835, Andrew Jackson received an enormous gift, a single block of cheddar cheese weighing 1,400 pounds. Not knowing what to do with a cheese wheel the size of a car, Jackson left it in the White House entrance hall for 2 full years. It aged, it festered, and the odor was so horrific it was impossible to ignore. To finally get rid of the big cheese, he invited the public to eat it. 10,000 people showed up and devoured it in 2 hours, but the greasy stains and pervasive smell plagued the White House for years. Number 15. Benjamin Harrison and the fear of light. When electricity was installed in the White House in 1891, President Benjamin Harrison and his wife were absolutely convinced that the current was constantly leaking out of the sockets like an invisible deadly gas. They were terrified they would be instantly electrocuted if they touched the switches. The President of the United States refused to turn off the lights in his own home, often forcing servants to act as human shields and flip the switches for them. It's a hilarious image of the most powerful man in the country paralyzed by a simple plastic button. We just covered 15 executive disasters, but the archives are full of incompetence. I am challenging you. What is the single dumbest, most absurd presidential fail that we missed? Who is the one idiot we forgot to roast? Drop your verdict in the comments.